Hello and welcome. My name is Chris from ChristopherHole.com. Welcome to this whiteboard presentation where we're going to be talking about shoulder impingement. We're going to look at 3 questions. The first one is, what is shoulder impingement? The second one is, what can cause it? And the third one is, what can solve it? Now, there are different causes for shoulder impingement. We're going to be mainly focusing on the biomechanical aspects within movement and within exercise and how we are using our shoulder. One other one could be a genetic factor, so it's how the bones are shaped in the shoulder, and that can obviously have an influence on it, but unless we have an MRI or an X-ray, we won't know what those bones in the shoulder look like. Therefore, we can't really take that into consideration because we don't know about it. What we can take into consideration is, are we using our shoulders correctly, and are we minimizing our risk of shoulder impingement? So that's what this video is going to be focused on. Before we get into those slides, what I would like to mention is my social platforms, which is Twitter, which is @ChristopherHole, Facebook, which is Christopher Hole Training, or Instagram, which is Christopher Hole. Please do come along there. I'm sharing every day various videos on health and fitness, so I try and cover as many aspects as I can, from habit forming all the way to nutrition and exercise and movement, and all those types of aspects that I try to cover. So please do come along, like and follow. It would be great to see you there, answer any questions that you do have. Alternatively, come to the website where you can sign up to the monthly newsletter, which is www.christopherhole.com/join. You just go to that link, click on the button, go through, and then there you just put your name and your email address in, and you'll receive that every month. Again, it's all video content. We try to keep it as interactive as possible as we can. Again, we try and cover all aspects: exercise, movement, nutrition, diet, mindset, forming of habits, breaking of habits, so on and so forth. And also, I've added on here my sports massage page. So if you live locally to Bristol, Bath, in the UK, you are suffering with an injury, shoulder injury, could be hip, knee, ankle, low back, please get in contact. Just go to that web page, just put in your name and your email address, and a message, and we'll be in contact, and we can book you in, and you can come in and I can work on it. I can get my hands onto your injury and sort of do it on a face-to-face, one-to-one basis. So coming back to the video, back to shoulder impingement. The first question we're going to look at is, what is shoulder impingement? So I've taken this bit of text from sports medicine. It's a bit technical. There's a little bit of jargon in it, but hopefully I'll help you navigate, and I'll break it down for you to make it a little bit easier for you. So subacromial impingement is by far the most common form of impingement. So whenever I'm working with people who have a shoulder pain, there is a good chance it will be this. I'll be working on the rotator cuffs with my thumbs, with my knuckles, whatever I can get into them, to be able to relieve that pain, restore some degree of movement, and reduce the amount of pain that they're feeling. It's the supraspinatus muscle at the top here that gets worked on. So this is one of the rotator cuffs. So as it reads, as the supraspinatus tendon travels from the supraspinous fossa to the greater tuberosity of the humerus. So the greater tuberosity is this area here, just at the top of the bone of the arm. It travels under the acromial arch. So what we're basically looking at is, this is the acromion here, up at the top, and it's this space in between the humerus and the acromion. Now, it's filled with the tendon, and it's filled with a bursa. Now, as we lose the space, so as we use our arms incorrectly or use our shoulders incorrectly, this space gets lost. And if we do that repeatedly over a period of time, the tendon here becomes inflamed, and then it starts to create pain, and then it starts to create immobility, or we stop using it as effectively as we could. The shoulder becomes tighter, and then sort of that downward spiral starts to take effect. So under normal circumstances, the humerus head remains located on the glenoid, and there is sufficient room for the tendon to travel without impingement. So what we're basically talking about is the humerus here, so this curve here, sits in this glenoid, which is this space here. Now, if we, again, use our shoulder incorrectly, which we'll talk about next, we lose that gap. And as we lose that gap, it squeezes down on the bursa and on the tendon, and then our shoulder becomes impinged, or we get what's called subacromial impingement, which is the other name for it. So what we're now going to look at is what's causing it and how do we solve it. So the cause, to, again, break this down very simply, I guess, is certainly using the upright row exercise. Now, this can go for other movements, but this exercise requires us to do what's called internally rotate our shoulders. So essentially, it's rounding our shoulders. Now, that will happen quite naturally just being in that position. So when we do that and then elevate our shoulders or elevate our elbows over 90 degrees, that closes that gap that we talked about and impinges and squeezes down on the tendon and on the bursa, and then creates that pain that we're talking about. So traditionally prescribed technique for executing the lift requires individuals to internally rotate their shoulder during elevation as a means of targeting the middle deltoid. So furthermore, traditional techniques often dictates that the individual elevate their arms to bring the elbows into a position above shoulder height while maintaining the internally rotated position of the arms. So it's this position that's closing the gap, and it's this position that's starting to impinge the shoulder. So what we need to be able to do is bring our elbows only to shoulder height. So what can solve it? So external rotation may begin at 60 degrees of elevation. So as our arms get to about 60 degrees of elevation, so as our elbows come out, it gets to about 60 degrees. That's where external rotation happens, which is where we start to roll our shoulder the other way. Now, when we do that, that lets the supraspinatus tendon fold or roll backwards away from that acromion space, if you will. So what we need to be able to do is research in using MRI and surgical exploration have reported the greatest degrees of subacromial impingement to occur at 70 to 90 degrees. So as we start lifting our elbows up to 90 degrees, that's where we start getting the squeeze. So the authors recommend that asymptomatic individuals elevate their arms during the upright row to just below 90 degrees. Similar recommendations have been put forth by other authors who suggest limiting shoulder abduction, which is bringing the elbows away from the body, to approximately parallel to the floor. So what we need to focus on when we're doing this exercise, whether you have the injury or not, is just bringing the arms or the elbows to 90 degrees or parallel with the floor. Now what this is doing, this is helping maintain a bit of space between the top of the humerus and the acromion above it. Again, they're not impinging. Now ideally what we need to be able to do is not do this exercise, because what it will also allow us to do if we were doing a different exercise is be able to externally rotate our shoulder. But explaining that kind of goes beyond the realms of this video, because I would need to sort of do it live on the video, which I may do in another setting. But hopefully this gives you a bit of a better idea of maintaining a better shoulder use during exercise and during movement. So what we're trying to do, certainly when we're using this type of exercise, is only allow our shoulders to go up above or just to 90 degrees. If we start going over, we start losing that gap between the acromion and the humerus. So hopefully that's been of some help. If you are suffering with the injury and you do need some more help, do contact me through christopherholt.com/sports-massage. and we should be able to get you booked in, and I can look at it a little bit more. I will also, along with a full assessment, I'll be able to add in a little bit of a tutorial to be able to start understanding how to use your shoulder a bit more effectively, so you don't make it worse in the future and reduce any risk in the future of it exacerbating and getting worse. So hopefully this has been helpful. Please do come along to my social channels, Twitter, Facebook and Instagram. You can see up in the top right, or come to the website christopherhold.com/join, join onto the monthly newsletter, or get in contact with me. Come and see me face to face through christopherhold.com/sports-massage. So many thanks for watching. My name is Chris from christopherhold.com. I'll speak to you in the next video.